Hi, this is Kenna, and this is the first of our Ask Mountain Hooves and Paws series. I decided to take a question that we had from a while back, and I'll just read you the question. Okay, this is from somebody who had taken some lessons with us, and they just were interested in getting some feedback about a new development. A concern that's come up since training is our dog's behavior around children. We had our dog near a 2-year-old nephew, and the dog initially growled. He hasn't done that to adults before, and wanted to stay near me. We, of course, kept him on a leash walking around the house while my nephew was around. He also kind of nipped at the back of his shirt as the nephew walked by the dog. The dog acted the same way near another family friend's child. I don't know if it's because our dog hasn't seen someone at his level before, or if their movements are too fast for him, or maybe he was nervous because he was abused by children when he was younger, and this is an adopted shelter dog. What are your thoughts? We are very careful and, of course, want him to be comfortable around children. So in answer to that question, the first thing that we want to tell everybody, and I think most of you guys know this, but it's good just to really think about it from the dog's perspective. Kids are really scary. They're unpredictable. They don't necessarily listen to the dogs and what the dogs are saying in a subtle way. They tend to push into the dog's space, which in the dog world, that's actually quite rude to come directly into the space. Usually it's more slow and at a curve. And then they're erratic. They sort of all of a sudden stop and start, and they make loud noises. So just, thinking about your dog's perspective, it's kids are a little weird, and a little intimidating. So what most likely, before we get into some ideas about what to do, what most likely happened here is the dog in this situation with the nephew, the dog most likely gave some calming signals. And these are signals that the dogs give to politely ask others to maybe slow down a little or stop what they're doing. So it's sort of like a little, please, can you slow down a little bit? You're scaring me. They're all visual signals. So the dogs will use these visual signals first before they resort to anything that has to do with a verbal signal or a vocal signal like a growl. So it could be like a head turn where the dog literally turns their head. It could be a lip lick where they just, lick their lips. It could be even a yawn. It could be a dip of the head where they just dip their head down to the ground, as well as turning it. It could be a combination, like a head dip and a head turn, or a lip lick and then a yawn, or whatever. So most likely the dog gave these signals, which in the dog world, they'd hopefully be sufficient enough to stop the other being from continuing what they're doing. But most likely the children didn't see these signals. So the dog got to the point where it sounds like he actually left the children and went to an adult, which is a really, really good sign that they are able to walk away from something that bothers them instead of feeling they have to stay there and feel trapped. And then maybe he gave a growl if the kid continued to follow after him, like, hey, you didn't listen to me at all. The only thing I know that's going to work now is a growl. I don't want to. So the growl is actually a distance increasing signal. 1 second, I didn't think about these kind of things. A distance increasing signal. So this would be different from a calming signal. It's not like a polite request anymore. It's like, okay, you need to get away. Like, I've tried. And so it's nothing to be alarmed at. Like, if a dog is doing a growl, that's actually really good information. We should never punish a dog for growling because most likely they gave us information before and we didn't pay attention to it. So it's their first time that they feel they have to vocalize because we tend to be vocal species. So they start learning, like, okay, they don't listen to these visual signals, so I have to give a verbal one. If a dog growls, take it as information, and then also figure out why it happened and remove the dog from the situation. So if a dog growls around children or anybody, you take it as information that they're uncomfortable and you remove them or stop what you're doing so that they don't need to escalate even more. Because if the growl doesn't work, then they're going to have to feel like they might, because in their mind, for some reason, they feel trapped. They're going to feel that they have to like bark or even lunge or even possibly nip. And we don't want the dogs ever to get to that level. So the growl is really good information, and it's like, we need to stop, or whoever is bothering the dog needs to stop. And then the dog needs to go somewhere safe so they don't feel they have to act this way anymore. So what was really good again in this was that the dog growled, but also left the situation and went to the people, the owners, the adults. So what we do in this situation is we train ourselves to be sort of the dog's advocate in any situation that they're uncomfortable in. So with children, it would be a heads up. Like the first thing to do is to start understanding these calming signals. We have information at Mountain Hooves and Paws about these and recommendations for how you can learn more. We also have a mini course that we created that's free that you can look at and learn some early signals that they use. And once you learn how to recognize these signals, then you can start recognizing at what point your dog starts to get nervous around children. Because there are training methods you can do to help them, but you can't help them. It's just like, we'll talk a lot about this. You cannot help your dogs if they're over threshold and if they're basically in the, I'm scared, I got to get out of here, or I'm scared, I got to get this being out of my space. That's not a learning situation. So you can think about it if there's anything that sort of starts to, you get worried about or concerned about, there's a point where you just start thinking about it, like, should I be concerned about this situation or not? And when you're at that point, that's the point where there's some good training opportunities. So when your dog is starting to say, I'm not sure I like this child around, but they haven't taken any action yet, that's where you can start helping them. And then if you start seeing those calming signals, it's probably best to remove the dog back to a point where they're more just watching and not reacting to the situation, if that makes sense. So when you see the dog just, starting to be interested in the children, but not giving calming signals or even going farther and growling, you want to just feed the dog some treats. We do things like something called click to calm, which is a more complicated approach where you actually will use your clicker and mark looking at the trigger. But what you basically want to do is help the dog say, feel that every time there's something like a child is running around, I get treats. And we want the dog also, this is very important, to receive the treats from the handler, the adult, not from the children, because we want the dog to sort of never feel pressure to go up to a trigger, so that it's like, I'm really nervous about the child, but the child's going to give me treats. So there's this conflict that's going on, and we don't want that in the initial stage of training, because they might not want to go up to the child, they'd rather leave, and we want to encourage leaving anytime the dog feels like that, because if a dog feels they can leave, they'll never react and cause problems, they'll just walk away. So what you want to do is you want the treats to come from the handler, which will be the adult, and you want to make sure that the children don't approach the dog. And you just want to start pairing, like, every time we get to see kids running around and playing, you get tons and tons of treats, like not tons and tons, but enough to make an impression. And this will just be something to do over time. And you can start, once you feel like your dog is happy to see children at a distance, then you can start decreasing the distance a little bit. And then eventually you might, if your dog is giving seems very happy with children coming closer and closer, then you might want to pair treats with somebody actually appropriately touching your dog. But then the minute the dog gives a calming signal, then the child stops touching and walks away. Or the dog gets to walk away too. So those are just some ideas, and I hope this gives you a starting point. If it's something more severe, we always encourage a little more professional training and intervention. But if it's something where it's just sort of a little initial concern about children, this could be a way that you could help your dog get over it. And you're welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear when more questions come in. And as always, we love feedback from any of the answers that we give you. Let us know how they worked out, and we'd love to share that with others. And if you want to submit any questions to us, you can go to our main website. It's mountainhoovespaws.com, and there is an ask a question, or I can't remember exactly what it is, on the menu bar. And you can go there and there's a form and you can submit a question to us. So we hope you're having a good time, and thanks for listening. Okay, see you next time.